Welcome back to another Animal Headquarters videos, and today we're here in the science lab with Dory, and we're going to be talking about leopard gecko morphs. 10 of them, actually. So let's get into it. So, our first morph on this list is a leopard gecko wild type morph. So it's just a little juvenile wild type morph. But basically, Dory here is a wild type morph, if you do not know that. Basically, wild type morphs will have a bunch of spots on their head, spots on their tails, and black spots all around their back and whatnot. Wild type will also have like yellow with black spots on the back and only like brown, white, yellowish head with black spots on the top and white tails with black spots on it. And they can have all different color sorts of feet and whatnot. So that is a wild type morph. So let's go on to the next morph. So our next morph on our list today is high yellow. A leopard gecko that is high yellow morph will have like bright yellow on the head and on the body. The tail is still normally white and black, but the belly back area and the head is going to have a lot of yellow on it, and going to have a few black spots, but it's going to be mostly yellow, like bright yellow. So that's the high yellow morph. They're sort of similar to a wild type, but again, they don't have much white on them or brownish. They have basically the three colors they have is yellow, a lot of yellow, black for the spots, and then white for some of the tail. So let's get on to our next morph. So, our next morph on this list is the blizzard. A blizzard is basically, looks exactly like an albino leopard gecko, except it doesn't have red eyes. It has eyes just like Dory has. But, so they are completely patternless. It's white everywhere. If you lost them in a blizzard storm, you wouldn't be able to see them because they're so white. That's why they call them blizzards, because they're so white that they look like they're in a blizzard. But that's the blizzard morph. There's not much to talk about them because just white, and that's all. But that's the blizzard morph. So let's get into the next morph. So the next morph on our list for leopard geckos is going to be the tangerine leopard gecko. A little fun fact is that when I was looking for leopard geckos, I wanted a tangerine leopard gecko. Once I described them, I think you'll know why. But because of COVID, I couldn't go to any reptile expos, so I got little Dory here, and I'm glad of it. She's really friendly. Aren't you, Dory? Yes. So now let's get into the tangerine morph. The tangerine morph looks like a wild type leopard gecko, sort of, but it has orange on it. That's why they call them tangerine geckos, because they'll have orange on them. They still have yellow, white, black, maybe some brown, like Dory has brown on her head. But they really just, on their body, they have a good amount of orange on them on their body. That's why they're called tangerine leopard geckos. Now I think you know why I wanted one. So that's all for the tangerine morph. So let's get into the next morph. So the next morph that we're going to be talking about is sort of like the tangerine morph, but it's on the tail. It's called, if you haven't guessed it yet, a carrot tail morph. Carrot tail morph has can look like anything. You can breed a carrot tail to basically high yellow, wild type, a tangerine. That would be kind of cool because a carrot tail has orange on its tail. And if you bred it to a tangerine and a carrot tail, that would look really cool because it's going to be a lot of orange. So basically, as I was saying, a carrot tail is just like a tangerine but has orange on the tail instead of the body. So that's about all for the carrot tail. So let's get on to the next morph. So next on our list is the Mac Snow Leopard Gecko morph. A Mac Snow is basically like a blizzard morph, but it has black spots over it. So it's just white with black spots all over it. The head, the tail, the body, everywhere. Mac Snows are another common morph. Wild type is by far the most common, but I would say the second is either a tangerine or a Mac Snow. And normally tangerines and Mac Snows aren't too expensive. I mean, you can find some that are expensive, but they're normally going to be less than $100. So that's why some people might like Mac Snows, because they're a cool morph, because there's no other gecko that has white with a black spots. So it's sort of cool, because whenever someone thinks leopard gecko, they think, oh, yellow and black spots. But nope, yours will have white with black spots. So that's pretty interesting for Mac Snows. So that's all for the Mac Snow morph. Let's get on to the next morph. Okay, the 8th morph, leopard gecko morph on our list is going to be the Super Snow. Super Snow is a lot like the Mac Snow, but the Mac Snow has bigger, shall we say, and fewer black spots around its body. But the Super Snow has a bunch, and I mean a bunch, of teeny tiny, not teeny tiny, but small black dots. Look closely. It's going to be about the size of like the ones on her head, on Dory's head, right there. That's going to be about how big they are to the comparison of the white. It's just going to be white with a bunch of tiny black spots. So that's all for the Super Snow. Let's get on to the next morph. Okay, the 9th morph on our list for the morphs of leopard geckos is going to be the Super Hypo. Super Hypo is basically a leopard gecko with a normal colored head and a normal colored tail, but the body is going to be yellow with no spots at all. There are going to be spots on the head and the tail, but there's going to be no spots on the body, which is pretty cool because, I mean, if you don't really like the spots and you don't really like the whiteness of the blizzard, that's probably your best bet because there's not much, you don't get that many spots. Whereas with the wild type that we talked about earlier, you get a lot of spots. But not as much as the Super Snow. Well, that's all for the Super Hypo. Let's get on to the final leopard gecko morph. So, our 10th and final leopard gecko morph on this list is going to be the Baldy. The Baldy is probably your absolute best bet if you love the orange and yellow of a leopard gecko, but hate the spots. So a Baldy is going to be orange and yellow, mostly yellow, but with some orange, depending on what it's bred with. And it's going to have no spots whatsoever, but it's still going to have that yellowish, orangish sort of coloration. So as I said, if you hate the spots on a leopard gecko, then you're going to want to go for a Baldy. Or a blizzard, but I personally don't like the blizzards because you could get like different geckos that are naturally white. Whereas Leopard gecko is cool because not many geckos are yellow and orange and that kind of colors. So that's our final morph. And that's pretty cool. I liked all the morphs on our list. Some I liked more than others, but most of them I would love to have if I had the money. Some of them are really expensive. Thanks for watching today's video of Animal Headquarters. We had some pretty cool morphs, also some pretty expensive morphs on our list today. But I hope this helped you learn a little bit more about morphs, and maybe you found out which morph you want to have as a gecko, as a leopard gecko. But anyway, please like and subscribe and for more videos, and hope you enjoy, and adios!